back.
No.
We're back now, Ben. Great. So we're going to do a site review. My name is Ben Stickland. This is Dr. Anthony Fernando.
Thanks, Ben.
We're going to have a look at Frantastic, which is a language site. So what we'll do, we'll bring up the site, and this is the home page. And if we just skip one step forward, you can see this is sort of the bottom of the page. So take a little bit of a look at it and think to yourself, okay, if you were looking to improve this site, if there was things that you were going to make, changes you were going to make, what would you do? And I want to run you through 5 or 6 ideas that we've got, and there's a few bits to do with copywriting, and so we've roped in Dr. Anthony, and he'll run us through a few ideas there. So the first thing that struck me when I looked at this site was the logo up the left-hand side. Now, I should just say, by the way, I think this is a really good site. There was a whole bunch to like about this. I think the design's nice and clean, and there was sometimes when you're doing site reviews, it's like there's nothing but problems. There's actually a lot of really good stuff in here. One of the things that this logo in the top left-hand corner, you may not be able to see it directly, and it's just a small thing, but it looked to me like it hadn't finished loading. I think that's what you said to me.
It looked like it hadn't rendered properly.
Yeah, and it's actually it's a graphical technique that's been used to kind of make it a little bit fuzzy around the edges, but I actually think in the web space it perhaps doesn't work because it's to me, I thought there was an error on the page looking around the edging of this graphic. The next thing that stuck out to me was just dropping in a contact us, and I'll put a little black box here where it might go in, a contact us section. You've got one in the footer of the site, but I'd be tempted to bring that up to the top and not just have what's currently there, which is a very basic contact us form, but actually put in your full set of contact details, certainly a physical address, a photograph of you guys would be great, just a little bit to make it personal, an invitation that says, speak to us, etc., etc. We've seen case studies of sort of a 10% plus conversion boost by dropping a contact us page back in there and making it nice and personal, so making it one that's got your own personal elements in there. Probably the biggest one that we're going to look at today is just the headline here. We've got the headline "Surrender to French," and I'm not a big fan of what I call clever headlines. I actually don't want my headline to be clever. I want my headline to be effective. I want it to talk to the needs of my audience. Now, as far as clever ones go, this is actually a pretty good one. I actually don't mind it as far as clever ones go, but I think we could probably do a lot more with it. And so, Anthony, what would you say in terms of some alternative headline options there?
I think you made a great point, Ben. It's a clever headline, but we really want it to pull our customers in. So from a copywriting perspective, it's really important that your headline has a hook, and the purpose of a hook is to grab the reader's attention and pull them into the page. And so with this particular site, I think a much more effective headline would be something like, "The easiest and friendliest way to learn French. Over 1 million people already use this method." And the reason that would be a more useful headline is it has 2 powerful factors. It has a primary benefit. So as soon as you see that headline, "The easiest and friendliest way to learn to speak French," you know that that's what the site's about, and that's something that the site can offer you. So if you're interested in that, it'll grab your attention. You could then have the subhead, which would be 1 million people already use this method, and that has the aspect of social proof. If you come to the site and see that 1 million people have already used this method to learn to speak French, you already think this clearly works, it's clearly an effective method, so I'm going to check it out. So that's what I'd recommend as a headline for this. This site would be the primary headline being "The easiest and friendliest way to learn to speak French," and a sub-headline of "Over 1 million people already use this method."
Yeah, and I think that'd be great. I think that'd be really, really effective.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that sort of came to mind looking at the homepage was you've got here test for free 7 days. You might even have some thoughts about how we do some copywriting on that particular button text, but one of the things that we did, we actually got a chance to work a couple of years ago on a site that had won a series of design awards, and we were asked to do some conversion work on it, and they had a really nice gold button on the homepage, kind of similar to this green button. Mm-hmm. and all we did was change the headline, and we brought the actual contact, the subscription form onto the homepage. So we increased the size of this box, and in this case it might be a bit of a taller box, and we actually dropped the username, the name and email subscription form onto the homepage. Mm-hmm. And overall it was in excess of 100% increase in conversion, and that was sort of one of the two big factors. So I'd certainly have a look at just bringing the response mechanism onto the page and trying that out. Now, in terms of test for free for 7 days, was there any other thoughts you had on copy on that?
Well, test for free, it took me a moment to understand what that actually meant.
Yeah.
So test for free, I figured it out, but I think click here for free access or something, get immediate access now.
Yeah.
Something like that would be more effective. It tells the user what to do. There's a big problem with, often we put stuff up on a website and hope that people will figure it out. But ideally, you want to take people through each step and make it very easy to take action.
Yeah, I'd perhaps look at a couple of wording options around that green button. The other piece, this how it works. This kind of lacked skimmability. So I don't even know that's a real word.
Yes.
But skimmability is the notion that you can sort of quickly look down something. And when I look at a website from a conversion perspective, the big things I'm looking at is, well, when I get the thing that stops conversion, a lot of them, people don't realise this, is actually just any form of general confusion. So I just ask the question, when if I'm going to an accountancy website, I don't want to think I've just turned up at a skateboarding website. I want it to sort of look vaguely relevant, and that reduces bounce back. Then I'm looking for kind of something to draw me in, and like you said, a headline with a hook is a great way to draw me into content. And then I'm looking to be able to consume the content, and most people actually skim it. They don't fully read it, and so that's kind of the third level down. And this how it works. I mean, I'd be tempted to look at how this will work for you. Put it in something about in the tense of the user. But you've sort of got this 1, 2, 3, and as I was looking at it, my brain didn't want to do the work to read these paragraphs immediately. So is there something that you'd be able to do with that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's a notion of friction on a website. And anywhere where your brain stops and thinks too much about what I need to do, you're creating friction, and friction is really detrimental to conversion.
Sure.
So anything you can do to decrease the friction will improve your conversion. So in this case, I think Ben has makes a great point. What you could do is just have step 1 being a headline of fun daily email.
Yeah.
So you absorb, you understand what that, and you could have a little bit of text below that to explain that a little bit more. But in one instant, you see step 1, fun daily email, and then step 2, personal feedback, and then step 3, intelligent lessons. So if you had those 3 as your 3 steps with a little bit of text underneath if you want more information. So fun daily email, then a bit of text, personal feedbacks, and then a bit of text to say they'll actually look at your stuff and give you feedback. And then intelligent lessons, which shows that each lesson is customised depending on what you're having problems with.
Because it's quite a powerful system from what I can read. I haven't used the service, but it looks quite powerful, and I think if we can bring a little bit of that power to the surface, that'd be a really nice thing. Going down to the second half of the page, and I focus on the more than 100,000 people use our method. You've already brought it up as the headline, but this is a great bit of copy. Like, this is really powerful, and the notion of lifting that to the top of the page and using that more prominently, I think, is really important. This I'm probably just getting picky on, but some of these bullet points are very feature based. So, for example, the mobile support point, what that actually means is, anytime, anywhere, your format, your method anywhere, those sorts of things, is actually the benefit for the feature of having mobile support. And one of the things that is something we generally see a lot is just if you go through your website and just often people just have feature. If you just consistently think, okay, that feature, what's the benefit, and just evolve into benefits, that can be really powerful. And then I think the last one was, again, this is probably the most flat bit of copy on the page. Our users make progress. That bit actually underwhelmed me. It was like, well, I'm assuming everybody makes progress. You might even just pull it. Actually, I don't know if this necessarily needs a headline, but if you're going to, from our users or something like that.
Well, here's what people are saying.
Yeah,
Something more social, engaging.
So I just didn't particularly like that last little piece. So
one other thing, Ben, with that page that's up at the moment, you'll notice that headline that I came up with earlier was actually taken from copy that's on the page. So I didn't sit down and try and write that copy, but further down the page, and this is often the case, there were these headlines that said easier, the quickest and easiest and friendliest way to learn French, and over 1 million people already use this method. So often the hook that you're looking for will be in your copy, and Ben, you said that also in your frequently asked questions, there's another place to find great copy. And a good way to do this is to get someone who's not familiar with your site to read through your copy and find out what jumps out at them, what makes them stop and say, wow. So when Ben and I both looked at this site, the things that made us sit back and say, wow, was one, that there was 1 million people using this method.
That stood out by a mile.
And then also that it's easy, friendly, it sounded like fun. So if you bring those up into the headline, you'll have a lot more impact. And the best way to find it, because often you're too close to the content to see it yourself, get someone else to have a look and ask them what jumped out at them. And for us, they were the two things that jumped out.
Yeah, I love to hit print and hand it to somebody with a highlighter and just say, with the highlighter in their hand, they can just mark a couple of things, and it's a really easy method. So. But if we're all time poor, the two things that I'd be saying I'd focus on would be I'd certainly test in your headlines, and I'd certainly be trialling bringing the response mechanism onto the homepage. But as I said, I like the site. I think there's a lot that you've got going on that's really good, and but I think this would give it a nice little boost.
Great.
Excellent. Good.
Thanks very much.